going to skim through some other technologies. Already 30% had sort of seen the case, so we'll have enough specific inputs. But okay, let's move to Sama. So this one is a very long story. Actually, Stephen and Rajoshi's story was also fairly long, but that was not the Noodle AI story. Noodle AI was formed in 2014 or 2015. I'm forgetting, March 2015. Okay. So Sama was formed in 1997. Okay, it was formed in 1997 with Suresh, Sagar, and Rajiv. They had worked in, I think, SGI together. They used to handle vast engineering data, build reporting capabilities, okay, engineering stakeholders. So reporting systems at that time were separate from ERP system. This is 1997. Kata, who was an engineer, felt that the work they are doing could also be applied to the business side. They were doing mainly on the tech side. So this inspired him to form a company called Sama Technologies. We took the word Sama from Samved, which is Book of Knowledge. So this is now 1997. Their value proposition was visualize and analyze what was happening in business by connecting data from CRM, financial systems, supply chain, and give a single version of truth. And in the first 15 months, they had 3 clients. Their revenues were 1.5. I mean, these are first 4-year revenues, 1.5, 3 million, 6 million, 10 million. 2000, Rajiv also joined, and cash flow is positive. Actually, they did not need investor money to run their business, right? With me, all of you. I mean, if you're earning money, you're meeting your goals. You're not not a asset intensive business. So you don't need money, right? And if you don't need money, you don't have to dilute ownership. So you are in full control of the business, right? Okay. Now this is 97 to 4 years to 2001. They are at 10 million revenue, and 2001 the .com crash happens in the US. Now, obviously, anytime there's a big market event, discretionary expenditure is halted. And they were in, who was their client here? Mainly? In this phase, 97 to 2001. Which customer segment were they catering to mainly? They were all in Silicon Valley, their clients, right? And they were all tech companies. So obviously the growth stopped, and therefore, as the case says, in 2002 to 2004, they had to let go of people. They steadied their business. Interestingly, they still were able to have a bottom, but no growth right now. So in this period, if you were the owner of the business, or you were Suresh Kata, what would have been your thinking? Suresh, Sagar, Rajiv.
Rajiv, there's a lot of background noise.
I think Mr. Snail needs to mute himself, yes.
I did that. Sorry, Irsha. Sorry. Apologies. Yes, Piyushi. What do you think was your learning?
Not to stick to one particular product, diversify.
Not to stick to one particular client sector.
Client sector, yeah.
Because the world is volatile and you never know, that sector might turmoil. So if you're only, but if you are in 2-3 sectors, suppose this goes into turmoil, something else doesn't, this goes down, something increases, then you are not affected, right? So diversification is good, is the learning that you have in this stage. Yes, somebody was saying a question. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think diversification is fine within your strength area, because unknown area could potentially cause another damage.
Correct. I mean, for them, and look, when you experience your own reality, that is so powerful that no management school, no business class, no book will, because you had that experience. This is not an overnight experience.
Correct.
You've been running a business since 1997. So now in 5-6 years, you realize, look, I was just focused on Silicon Valley and tech companies. I need to grow my customer base. Simple learning you've had, right? So that I'm not dependent on one industry. So they do a diversification strategy and they add pharma, consumer products group and insurance to their customer portfolio, right? Even companies like Unilever and Green Tech become their clients by 2007. So their efforts of diversification are resulting in a success, right? This is what the case told you. Then 2008 happens. So we all know 2008, September, global financial crisis, another big event, right? But interestingly, despite hitting some bumps, this time, Sama continues to grow. Because this was largely, while everything got impacted, but it was a very high concentrated financial services industry crisis, right? It impacted many businesses for some time, but this was localized there, and they were not into financial services much, so they were diversified, and therefore their diversification paid off. Am I correct? They were successful, right? And the company continues to grow, Sagar also much. So everything is good. So I think one learning is that in this period, this is almost a 13-year period, it's good to diversify and expand customer base. In the area of core strength, as Saurabh said it, but make sure that your customer base is expanded, right? Okay. Then we move to the next phase, which is the next 4 years, 11 to 15. This is an interesting phase. Okay, remember, this is also the phase which is that company we just said, Noodle AI. 2014, they both leave Infosys, right? So we are in similar period, not identical period, similar period, right? Okay, 2011, Sama has 500 employees and it's profitable. Suresh, who's the leader, is experiencing that there are developments in industry around algorithm, math, and things like that. What was Stephen Pratt's things that he used to say? What is happening in the industry? Same things. Because both are operating in the same large industry around tech services, correct? So whatever are the developments, all leaders will be experiencing them, isn't it? In their own way. They're very different businesses, but in their own way. Also, software and service industry was changing, and he felt entrepreneurs could now build companies without large funding. So they have their own data and tech stack as their proprietary IP, but it's very modest, very, very modest. So it's like they have a button, whereas SAP has a shirt, and these are his words. He says, we can make a fashionable shirt, but because we can move very fast, whereas SAP and Oracle will be very burdened with their business. So they steer a small team of engineers to build like a solution-oriented. Instead of just being client service-oriented, a solution for finance, insurance, and healthcare, right? Finance, insurance, and healthcare. They would be customized solutions with few repeatable elements, and this will bring in revenue and allow Sama to develop IP with client dollars. So if you work with a client on a project, the client is paying you money. You're using that money to, of course, do the project, but you're also developing your IP for that vertical. It's a very interesting concept in entrepreneurial thinking, which we call customer-funded business, which we use customers' money to grow our own business, right? And in Sama's case, you see this happening. In this period, 11 to 15, Cisco, PayPal, Synopsys, they contribute millions of dollars for their own solution, but that is owned by Sama. So the IP is owned by Sama. What is this telling you about Sama until here? If customers are willing to pay you money to develop a product and this and that, what is it telling you about Sama?
The one thing which which is very visible, that don't stick to one idea or one methodology, one product.
Right.
But while you are in business, keep
What else can
evolving
you
and
say?
keep looking for the different ways to acquire customers, different services, different products, etc. And
What else can you say?
there is a requirement in market for what they are building. So people are
Customers
investing
are
in
giving you money. What is it telling you about yourself?
There is a demand for that
There is
particular.
a demand. You're doing something for the customer.
You have a product market fit.
Yes, good one. So I mean, basically you are giving to customers something that they want. Therefore, they're willing to give you advance money. Go do it. We trust you. You have trust. Who gives someone advance? When in business do you get an advance? Either you are in a scarcity model, which means there is a queue and until you like Bajaj Chetak scooter, if you don't book, you won't get it for 2 years, right? In India, if you don't book a phone, you don't get it. So scarcity model, monopolistic model, you have to pay advance to get it. Otherwise, in B2B, you give advance when you trust the vendor, right? Or the vendor has such a reputation that it has a queue and all of that. So due to whatever reasons, Sama is perceived good by these clients. That's why it is getting dollars and it is using those dollars to build their IP. Okay. Now in 2015, and Sama has a good board of advisors, right?
Maybe so. Also, the solutions which he was providing was one of the best at that time. He had to be ahead of time.
That's a good point also, that they were liking Sama, and I think he had, whether it was speed, efficiency, whatever they had, they were good. So basically, it's giving you a green tick on Sama's. Their box is working, isn't it? Okay. Now, in 2015, we have shared some discussions that the board of advisors, because Suresh being a good CEO or a good founder, is using the board of advisors to do what? To take advice. When you set up a good board, your main purpose is to get good advice, to also demonstrate good governance so that the board can be a check and balance. But so at that point of time, their revenue coming from their IP-based products, which is small, is 1/3 of the total revenue. And the service revenues, which are project-based, we all now understand that's more difficult to scale. So, but moving to making products is going to take capital. So the board actually advises Sama, let's raise capital. What is the board? What is collectively, what are they thinking in 2015 collectively as a board and Suresh?
They want to diversify. They want to look at additional revenue streams and to focus on getting those products rolled out.
Product based.
Money. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
product based. So you
they
need
want
money.
move from project based to IP.
Service,
They want to go in that direction.
service based to product based. Yes.
Yes, Urmi?
To expand, I think that is the basic.
To expand, yes, but they could expand in their project services. There's a lot of clients out there. US is a very big market. Global is a very big market.
Yeah.
But they're saying, let's go more on product.
Yes.
Let's develop. And if it takes money to develop, let's raise money. We don't have, we may be having some profits to just keep running the business. This needs, say, X million dollars. So let's raise money. Raise money means let's dilute ownership. These are serious calls, huh?
Yep.
These are serious calls and they are taking it, which means they see something in this area of activity that is possibly a value creating. What is the year? 2015. Which is the year in which Mr. Stephen Pratt and Raj Joshi start
2014.
Noodle AI?
2014.
Exactly the same time. Now, what you are seeing right now is two businesses, very different, run by very different people, don't know about each other. I mean, not in direct comp, but you are just seeing their development together. That is happening with them. Again, good people. This is happening here. So, in that, they raised 35 million from a single institutional investor within few weeks. Sama Technologies. It's the same period in which TPG invests 15 million in Noodle AI. Also, by the way, what is it telling you about investment climate in these kind of things?
My industry was cash rich.
It was buoyant. People were investing in this, isn't it? Otherwise,
At the time,
people-
the venture capitalists were quite active.
because this is a ahead period, right? This is 2015, 10 years back. So people want to be first, isn't it? So when they find ideas, so
They have come out of the 2008 crash.
yes, so that also now stability is back, which takes 1 or 2 years to reach stability, and that is back. So buoyant. Okay, and also shows you that in this sort of 97 to 2015, which is 15 plus 7, 18 years, Sama is now trying to move from a project based. So first they moved from tech clients to diversified clients, and then they moved from a project based to IP product. They want to develop a 3-layered model: bottom layer, middle layer, top layer. Isn't this very similar to what you saw in Noodle AI? I'm not tech person, but similar architecture, isn't it?
But Rajiv, even so, if you see the journey-wise, right? Sama started long back. They faced a couple of hiccups. They understood the business strategy very well. Whereas Noodle AI, they just came out from the corporate and starting their own initiative, right? So it is.
They had 20 years of experience, maybe 30 actually.
But own product segment, own business, right? It's not that much of experience enough like Sama.
Just assume Deloitte Consulting and Infosys Consulting was Stephen and Raj Consulting. What the work that they were doing with clients, what Sama was doing, Suresh, Sagar and Rajiv were doing with their clients. Assume Stephen and Raj were doing with their clients. They both have rich experience. It's not that they don't. Just because you start a company today doesn't mean your last 30 years has no experience, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, experience is one term. Another term when you do your own venture, right? So that then your exposure are quite broader.
Correct. So your experience of running a startup versus working in a corporate, that is very different in these two companies. Totally agree. But experience-wise, in terms of interacting with clients, both.
That is their core strength, but the way they running their business is very.
Agreed. That's true. So Sama raises money, they raise money, fine. The architecture, again, I don't know the differences, but seems to be similar, right? This is what they are trying to develop. In 2015, they say, okay, we'll develop some sort of an analytics engine. Okay. This is going to be our product. We will focus on technology, media, insurance, life sciences, healthcare, government, CPG. Remember, Noodle was focusing on discrete process, CPG, and travel or supply chain. Right? So some differences. And again, there'll be data, there'll be compute, and therefore there'll be visualization. Right? So similar architecture. I mean, we can. By the way, this case has some very beautiful exhibits. Right? It's very rare to find. So Sama was very kind. To give this, and you will realize why this relationship with Kellogg that they have, Alex just explained. So now 2015 happened. Now let's look at 2016 and 17. What's happening, where to play, how to win, etc. Now interesting stuff is happening. 2016, this product is driving their growth, this analytics engine based solutions or services. But Suresh felt that he has spread the company too thin. And by the way, this is a 500 people company, right? He says Sama was attacking too many verticals, and I need to reverse course by narrowing the market instead of chasing clients in many different verticals. Suresh meets with his professor or his colleague, whatever, Mohan Sani, famous guy in consumer tech space, or basically internet space. He's a professor at Kellogg, and he goes to discuss this strategy with him. And he hears a phrase used by Mohan Sani, which is no market is too narrow to build $1 billion business if you go deep enough. And basically, this is actually what happened happens, right? So if this is Suresh, this is Monsani, and this is an account shared by Monsani. So he says, if you're looking for growth, go deep, not broad. I'll come to that. First, let's go through what Sama does. So once they start thinking that they should narrow down focus to one vertical in which the company can develop the most differentiated offering. Because when you focus on just one vertical, then you have to make sure you're winning there. Because now that's your only strategy, right? So you have to be doubly sure. If you're diversified, you're okay. But if you're going on one vertical, then you have to be doubly, triply sure, right? So they narrow down to one vertical. Now look at this choice. This is an important thing to understand, beautifully expressed in this case. They look at the analysis of their clients, their domain expertise, and the attractiveness of the market. Where did you hear about attractiveness of the market before in our SMB program? In the Commonwealth Coffee case, right? Two markets, retail coffee shops, office supply of cold brew, which is a more attractive market. Market attractiveness is a common thinking in strategy. Which is an attractive market? Is this an attractive market? Is this an attractive market? Is running a luxury airline attractive market? Running a luxury taxi service an attractive market? Why? How? So and they go through their own clients. They have good expertise now. They've been in business 18 years. And they narrow down to life sciences industry. So this is answered by very narrow, precise. We are focused on life sciences industry. Within that, what needs? They look at analytic solutions for managing their clinical operations, or clinical research operations, CRO, if I could call it. Why? Because clinical operations in life sciences industry, they represented a big opportunity. Life sciences companies take 10 years to bring a blockbuster drug to the market, spending about $2 billion. Clinical operations are driven by data and analytics. This data is difficult to gather and analyze. It is stored in silos within the company itself and collected from a wide range of third-party data sources. So their solution will be to unify these data sources, derive insights for clinical operations, and reduce months and possibly years in the process. Now tell me, for this industry, how precise is their value proposition?
Very precise. They have narrowed it down.
Very precise.
Very precise.
The industry person will say he will be feeling like a heavenly meeting, especially if their clinical research operations team is meeting. They'll say this person fully understands what we want. And they'll just say, आप यहीं रहो अब, आपकी टीम कल से आएगी यहाँ पे, ये रूम है आपका रेडी, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट सब देख लेंगे, आप कल से काम शुरू करो. प्राइसिंग डिस्कशन ही नहीं हो रहा है.
So Rajiv, can we see?
Sorry, I'm making it dramatic.
Okay. So Rajiv, can we see this as a challenge to a conventional thinking where they are coming up with your companies focused on one specific area, and this consultant is coming up and saying that you need to focus on something different, or this is the place you need to be focusing on. So.
Obviously, the reason you have an external service provider is you want something which you don't normally have. So you're looking for expertise, you're looking for efficiency, you're looking for resources, right? It could be any of this. Sometimes you know the solution, but you don't have enough people to do it. So you bring in an outside consultant. Please help me do it. But the important thing is that the consultant should be able to understand what your needs are and then talk your language.
that's
when the marriage is very good. Right. Now, in this particular case, they are right now. Forget the client interaction. They are going through their own strategy development because they have made a very big pivot between 15 and 17. In 15, they were focused on technology, media, insurance, life sciences, healthcare, government, and CPG. And remember, this is a company that has learned diversification is good. They've experienced two big events. These are not easy memories to remove. Yet, through their own wisdom, through interaction with advisors, it takes them about 2 years or 1.5 years, whatever it is. They decide to just focus on life sciences industry. And within that, also just focus on one area which they are going to solve, but they will solve it well. It's just that now this is actually technically very risky. We can't say this is a risky move, but it is extremely well thought through, and it's not out of any secondary experience. This is their own experience. They themselves arrive at this. They understand life sciences. They've been working with them. They do more study with them, as is very clear from their exhibits, which I'll just share with you. That they go very deep, and then they say, looks in testing. I think if we just focus on this is our future. Doesn't mean we have to stop doing, but this is how we will morph now. Right? And I know we have